Yeah, I actually had a couple questions that I'd like to pose to all three women who are joining us tonight. If you could just kind of give me a quick response and take this in whatever order you want. Um, the first thing is, we've kind of discussed already the role that education plays in critical thinking and things of that nature in becoming an atheist, and that goes for men as well as women, I think. But I'm also wondering what your position is as far as, do you think that stressing the misogyny within these Abrahamic religions like Christianity and Islam is a particularly effective way of getting women to leave religion behind, and if not become atheists, at least begin doubting the religion that they're a member of. Kristi's made some really good videos about the Bible and how counting up the number of times that women talk directly to God and how many miracles they experienced outside of having to do with childbirth. So that's my first question that I want to ask all of you is, do you think that pointing out the misogyny is a good way of convincing women to leave religion behind? And the other thing is, we kind of generally been discussing women and atheism, and I think the split is about like 60% to 40%, like women to men in general overall. But it seems to me, this is my perception, is that women who are more vocal or active in the atheist community, like what we do, or the kind of leaders in atheism, it seems to me that it's even more male dominated in the people who are speaking out. So I just want to ask, do you agree with that perception? And what do you think we can do to get more women involved to be more vocal in atheism?
I think that stressing that, that misogyny, I think it is a really important point because the problem is a lot of women don't realize it. For example, my experience that I know of for sure, in the Quran, Mary's the only woman whose name is mentioned, and instead of realizing how messed up that is, that like pretty much every single guy who's existed who had anything to do with anything, their names are mentioned, and only one woman's name is mentioned. And instead of realizing that that's pretty messed up, women are like, oh look, God loves us, he's including women in the Quran, which like one name versus like 100 names. And instead of realizing that like it's not enough, that like women have had like so much to do with like the spreading of Islam, whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, they deserve more. If you're gonna worship a god and give him like your entire life, you would expect him to acknowledge women a little bit more than to mention one woman. So I definitely think that that's something that needs to be pointed out and almost shoved in their faces to really make them realize how like fucked up it is. Can we curse on here? Okay, good. So that's something that like a lot of women just don't realize because like they haven't been taught to realize it. They don't see anything wrong with it.
I have a point to make on that note.
Don't forget to
That's
mute.
kind of interesting. Hmm? Oh, I was just saying it's kind of interesting how she mentions how it should be the misogyny and most women don't realize it. That's kind of like similar to being in like an abusive relationship. Like women, they say love is blind or whatever, if you're basically taught to keep loving that same thing that you've loved for so long because of fear of what will happen if you don't love it, right? So, I mean, that's kind of like, it's really, really messed up, trying to think of the word for it. It's very manipulative is what it is, for them to just do that to people. Not even just women in general, but people as a whole, to be manipulated in such a way and to be living in fear. Like, it's so ridiculous. Like, and it's a habit and it's a learned thing, and it's really hard to break those habits. And the only way to break those habits is to have something either like monumental happen or for it to be brought to your attention like over and over and over and over again, in which, especially with, she was talking about Islam, if they've been taught to not even like think about not believing in it for so long that's almost impossible for most people. So I don't know. I thought it was a really cool that she mentioned that, and I wanted to kind of give my 2 cents on it. So pretty cool.
Is that me up then to finish up with the third person? So you froze up a little bit on the first bit, but in terms of misogyny, I do think it's important. I think we need more women pointing out the misogyny and I'm going to talk mostly just about the Bible because my worldview tends to be I know Judaism less so, Christianity more, so I'm going to speak to those two in particular. But I think it's very unsurprising that people almost don't see the misogyny in the Bible because it's primarily men up there who are teaching it, and they have no interest in critiquing it, right? They want to sell the values of the Bible. They want to sell the idea that women's natural role is to be submissive and, a sex thing for men's pleasure, that women's bodies should be covered up so that they don't tempt men, that women should listen to men just because they have a penis. I mean, there's no, if that's your system and you're benefiting from it, there's no reason to question the system. So you really do need atheism to step outside of religion and start pointing out this stuff, because even feminist Christians and, feminist Muslims, they can only go so far within the text. They can take a very liberal interpretation of it and push for a progressive interpretation. But if you really want critique, then you need atheism, and that's why I do make those videos, because it's horrific. And I think if we do, I hope to give a voice to be a person to say, just look at how women are treated. If there's 50% of the population, why aren't we getting 50% of the face time? Why aren't 50% of our concerns, talked about? Where are women's lives and where are women's concerns? Where does Yahweh ever show up after the woman's gotten pregnant to see how she is? So yeah, I think that until people are given voice to raise these questions, there's nobody inside religion who's going to be asking them.